recording button. Okay.
Don't forget to start all your timers.
Thank you very much. Okay. We have started the recorder, and I'm going into the Remarkist app and into this particular event. The name of this episode is called Haunted Leg. Oh my goodness. Very interesting. We're going to start this, as always, on the count of 3. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the hair is such an upgrade.
With who? Lorelai, Rory, Emily?
Oh, well, Lorelai and Rory, but I'll go Emily too. Emily's is pretty much the same.
There's less bumps. Does it look like she's not really looking at her to anybody else?
She isn't.
This is the new set. Do you notice anything different, John?
I don't. What's different?
The staircase. The living room is bigger.
The staircase?
There's not a wall behind them. There used to be a wall behind them.
Really?
Yeah, it's like totally different. The living room is completely different. The stairs were there in season 2, though, wasn't it?
I remember stairs.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I think this was from season 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been changed for a while now. I think.
Okay, then I'm just slow and I missed too much of season 2. Sorry. There, you're good. That's the quote.
Gosh, Emily.
Even though a woman shot her husband, she still finds a way to say, at least she had one. Poor Rory.
That line was hilarious.
You know what's actually really fun? You know what's really fun is, I've seen this opening like a bazillion times just through being on the show. Never knew what any of it was. Not a single one of them. And now it's fun to actually like there we go, like that thing with Kirk, like I'm now like placing every one of these shots, like, oh, pilot, there we go. Birthday party, there we go.
And as the series goes on, you'll see, like, obviously as the seasons go on, new things get added into like new Rory footage, and super cool.
It's very fun.
Oh, I know. I see Robert Lee back there.
Yep, there's Robert.
I see someone. Uh-oh, Tasha's gonna have.
That's the shirt my friends made me.
Luke seems completely back now.
Yep.
Like 100%. Like everything's over. All has been made right.
Ugh, forgiven. Back to normal.
Ugh.
I feel like we still haven't seen this actress's face.
I don't think we have.
Well, they're too busy
We
kissing.
saw a bit of it when she
I
was
think
walked
that's
in.
the point.
I mean, she is pretty, but like this
Hey, my gift's coming
character-
out.
He looks thinner this season.
You said that last episode too.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
He's getting
It's so
taller.
funny.
Yeah, tell them the baby is running around in the walls. Sure thing.
Remember when you could go out in public with a cold and not be looked at like you were to death?
Oh, I just remembered.
I know, right? Oh, I know what this is.
Oh God.
Oh,
2-week quarantine. Every time I forget about it, and every time it makes me laugh.
Yep.
Kirk was just so ahead of his time. It's like the best line. It's sweet and creepy.
So sweet though.
This is nice.
honestly.
Yes, sweet and I love Michelle's reaction.
This would scare the crap out of me. My mother did this to me on my 18th birthday, but I was still a junior.
There's a brand.
Yeah, brand names.
A brand still. I can't wait for the episode where I'm in that supermarket because I didn't see a
The
single brand.
marshmallows too.
If I see brands, I'm just going to be like, okay, I don't know what I don't know what I know about this show.
That was such an awkward moment.
Is this the episode I think it is? Because,
I think so.
oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Crap, I can't ask you what you mean by that.
I don't think it's the one.
I know the one you're thinking
No,
of, and
let's
it's not this one. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that's not for a while.
Yeah, there's a few episodes, but I know the one you're thinking about.
That's
Yeah, I
what
was thinking-
thought, but like I would get so confused.
I make the same mistake every time I watch it.
Yeah. I love how we like we're all talking about, we know what we're talking about, but John probably doesn't have any clue what we're talking about.
I'm still confused.
After show, like after show.
No, I gotta be asleep by that point. Just message me on Insta or Twitter or Instagram.
We'll do.
There's your puff.
The Puffs.
Are they still the Puffs at this point, though?
Yes.
Shirley, what's your Twitter handle?
It's on my clubhouse thing. It's Charlie T. Black.
Oh, okay. I'll find it.
I like your poster. Oh, no. I did just remember what this episode is, so I think. It makes me wonder how long Paris was actually talking.
An hour.
Honestly, just by Charleston's face, you know it's been a minute.
I could never go to a school like this where they can see you during the assembly, because then you can't be on your phone and not pay attention.
Man, the eyeshadow. That's the
That's
most
the early
eyeshadow.
2000s.
That's the most eyeshadow I've seen on Emily in the series so far. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think it lasts very long.
Now she doesn't seem to have any on.
She looks scared.
There's Krispy Kreme.
Man, I love me the Krispy Kreme. Okay, yep, I'm so confused. Because this is what I was thinking.
Her character annoys me so much.
Same.
I can't stand her.
Francie's character does?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Same as the other
Not-
character that I know her
yep.
from. Ugh.
I like that she's an adversary for Paris, though.
Yeah, I'm not annoyed.
So
Maybe there's
Francie
more
was
to her.
Francie was on an episode of Shameless.
More than one episode, and I wanted to punch her the whole time.
Nothing against her actress, but just Francie's character as a whole. And
Yes.
like, whole
The
choking
actress is
problem.
probably totally fine.
Mm-mm.
Well, so far I've only gotten Francie from the Puffs, which I kind of enjoyed, and then this, which it didn't really bother me too much. But maybe there's more.
You'll know by the end of this episode if I'm remembering. I mean, Paris wasn't being very welcoming in that meeting either. No.
Just Paris.
No, it's nothing
Right,
against
well-
Paris, like my criticism, but I just
Right,
I
well-
don't like this plot point in general, is what I'm trying to say. Francie encapsulates this entire plot point for me. So therefore, I don't like her by proxy, if that makes sense. I know
I don't
it's
mind the
very
whole shirt
mundane
thing, though, 'cause,
thinking,
you know.
but
I just really want a Krispy Kreme now.
You did post a donut before, and that you made me hungry.
I made myself hungry.
I've never had a Krispy Kreme. We only have Dunkin' Donuts in Maine.
They're good.
now I want Dunkin'.
You guys, have you never had Krispy Kreme?
Never? Just Dunkin'
That's
Donuts?
so sad. Dunkin' Donuts are fine, but they're crap compared to Krispy Kreme. There's a donut ATM machine at the corporate Krispy Kreme here in Charlotte.
I love this season's dresses on Lorelai.
I agree.
Yeah, Lorelai looks fantastic in this season. Like her outfits, her hair, all of it just feels like a major upgrade.
And it just gets better as the series goes on. Oh yeah, season 4 Lorelai is my favorite. Oh yes.
I said it last time, just from a production standpoint, it just feels like the show has more money.
Oh my gosh. I need
Okay, yeah, so this is totally what I was thinking. I don't know what y'all are talking
God, I hate her.
I love her hair though.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
this is fun. This is fun.
The claws are all out.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't like this at all.
You know, she would not intimidate me at all.
I was sure to be like, get out of my face.
That's kind of what Rory is doing.
Yeah, and I love this because I feel like it really shows how like Rory will stick up for her friends or like what she supports in this compared to backing down.
She's not dateless though, girl. You behind the times.
Just the,
Rory is wearing a lot more makeup here.
just the politics of all of this is so much fun.
Those girls at the door, what are they doing?
This cameraman is doing a really good job not getting him in the mirrors.
Oh yeah.
That was the most House of Cards scene.
I love her hair.
Dispensers.
I hate her character.
Did we look at those soap dispensers?
I notice them every single time. They're so weird.
I think it's great. Come on.
I love this scene so much.
Luke's back.
Those chips are back too. With all the brands on them. She is really trying.
They had Caesar salad in episode 1. Yes, probably.
Another brand.
Yeah, but that's technically fair use because that's just a reference to the brand in the actual script, which is a little different. Although maybe Clarence might have an issue with it if they thought that it was potentially like, making fun of the brand.
In agenda in
5, 4, 3, 2.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Smack this woman.
You sure you love Emily?
Never not an agenda.
Oh wow. Oh
Yep.
wow.
Now it's
Oh.
justified on why Lorelai is suspicious on the lunch.
Oh man, this boils my blood.
Welcome to our side.
Wow, I love Lauren here.
Ooh. That was a really good scene, but really crazy.
Goes back to the point where no matter what Lorelai would have said or when she would have said it, she would have still had the same thing.
I want to talk afterwards about why Paris is so hostile to her, given her power in the school. Oh, is it just that? It's just her legacy.
Of all issues to push, that is a silly one for Francie.
Yeah, all of that really makes Rory look so awesome.
Paris does have some pretty good lines in this show.
I think she should have gone straight to Paris when she got out of that bathroom with Francie. I think she should have went straight to Paris and told her everything.
If Woody would have gone straight to the police, none of this would have ever happened.
Kirk's mom. I'm guessing not a character that we get to know much more on the series.
We never see their face.
No, but I
Hey,
think
no
that's
spoilers.
Alex Borsten's voice.
Also, there was no like answering machine message like when Emily called and like I think last season. Random fact, but this is my favorite maid that Emily ever has. I know that's a weird thing to have, but I just love her.
She actually has lines.
She just reminds me of me, this maid.
No way.
That's cute.
Was the maid supposed to be really stupid, or was the maid like being sarcastic?
She's being serious.
I think she's supposed to be like not so bright.
Which is why it's nothing like Amy, because she's very smart.
You've never seen me at work.
But I love you. Look of shock and horror on Lorelai's face.
I just love her.
This is amazing. She got rid of a woman after one day.
She reminded me of when she did that.
Trying to figure out why they made that character that way, but now I get it.
Uh-oh.
That was me when I became a waitress at 16, I swear to God. No! Oh my gosh.
Then here we go.
Whoa. This almost feels like a dream.
I weirdly love this scene.
Oy. Oh,
Yep.
that was really brutal,
Brutal.
man. Steadicam.
Shut up, Chris.
He's such trash. Oh my
I love
god.
this song.
But are they really never gonna talk to him again?
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
And he's still so immature.
He really has no one but himself to blame.
But can't he try to make amends and try to be a father and try to get past this?
Okay, I'm clapping for Emily right there, though.
Yeah, that was
He
good.
redeemed himself a little.
Thanks.
But I'm sorry, that guy's not trash, though. I mean, this was an
Trash.
This was such an
Trash.
We
emotionally.
can get
hard-
into this in post-show, John.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Garbage, garbage, garbage. Nobody can change my
Trash.
mind.
It seems sad that they would never talk to him again over this situation.
I mean, she did just say give time.
Yeah, she
Really,
was
keep in mind, I have not seen anything more than this, and as of right now, I mean, yeah, he probably should have left a little earlier, but man, that's brutal for
He
this
shouldn't
guy.
have come in the first place.
Well, I mean, probably shouldn't have. That's probably a mistake, but like, it's all out of absolute love.
Dialogue in this season so far, though, is amazing.
Rory's gonna laugh.
Oh, it's
more
the dialogue is
here.
fire. The dialogue is so good.
It really is.
Oh goodness.
What is he wearing?
A Kirk shirt. I know, I think he looks cute.
True.
Aww.
He's got references.
It's very sweet, but it's not true.
What not?
Oh, he was so proud of himself.
And she let him down easy.
Oh.
And she let him down.
Hello. Lipton.
Manischewitz.
And Reese's. And Chex. Gosh.
And the mashed potatoes too.
He looks a lot older in this season.
And she's still with Dean. She has no right to be mad.
Oh, we will so talk about this after.
He's not wrong.
Yep.
Definitely on Jess's side.
Oh yeah.
Fully on Tessa's side here.
It's a good thing Dean wasn't working.
I was thinking that stuff.
Did anybody else hear that in the whole entire store?
I was gonna say, you think they wouldn't want to argue in Stars Hollow's only market?
In Dosey's?
Yeah, good thing
No
that
less.
Patty wasn't there either.
Or like any of his coworkers, like anybody could have said any. Yeah, it's kind of it's silly that day.
That
Marty
that
brought it
was
up, like, oh, I heard your girl talking to Jen.
Before it
that
gets messy,
was
I just want to say.
that was a crackler. I mean,
Amy wants to say
that episode was just fire. I loved it. Hold on, let me open up the couch.
Fire
Everyone-
was John's word of the day.
Good night
Everyone-
before it gets really manic, and I'll hopefully be awake soon. Bye.
I'm opening.
It's nice to hear from you. I love you. See you later.
Bye.
I'm opening up the couch now to everyone out there on what we call beanbags. Please come on up and join us for a little post-show discussion. We're going to be chatting about what we saw. We saw a lot. We heard a lot. We probably got a lot to say.
Oh yeah.
So please come on up. I don't even know where to start. So why don't we start with somebody else? Sarah.
Yep.
Carol, you might want to mute yourself.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, I thought I saw your microphone flashing, Sarah, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was Carol.
No, I think it was either Kathy Ann or it wasn't me.
Kathy Ann.
We've been talking a lot about the parallels of the characters, and I've seen like the big parallel with Rory and Chris to Lorelai and Jess. With the conversation, are you still with Sherry? Are you still with Dean? Type of thing.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I
The same
just
thing
wanted
with
to
last
mention that.
episode. Yep.
And it's like somebody was mentioning. Well, I feel like I've heard it a couple of times now. This sort of fan theory or observation that Jess and Lorelai are kind of the same person. This is definitely jumped off the screen in this episode for me.
For me, Jess is Luke.
Jess is Luke.
Oh yeah, definitely.
John, do
Maybe
you
a
want
little bit
to
of
break
Lorelai,
down
but-
to the new people how to chime in and clapping and raising their hands? And...
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah, we
actually.
still need to get better
Thank
at
you. That's actually a really good way to start here. Okay, so we just watched the episode, and unlike the episode where 15 of us are allowed on the couch, we open up our post show to anybody who wants to join us. Of course, that means a lot of folks are on here. There's a lot of, very often a lot of people have a lot to say, and it can get boisterous. So we have a few ways that we try to manage things. If you want to speak, there's a few ways that you can do it. Again, I don't want to put too many stringent rules on this. One way is you just feel a lull in the conversation, like, there's just a nice little pause. Speak up. You can do so. That there's nothing. It's just like any normal conversation. However, even in normal conversations, when there are a lot of people speaking, it can be hard sometimes to find that opportunity to speak. So we have another way that we use, which is we flash our mics slowly. It's our way of showing that we're kind of like, we've got sort of a hand raised, like we have something that we want to speak and that we want to say. And others in the room will observe that. And they'll, sometimes, they'll point that out to whoever is speaking, that somebody else wants to speak. And we'll get you speaking as soon as possible. That is sort of the main thing, and as I said in the, before we started, just be sensitive to the fact that we only have a limited amount of time here, and we've got, a lot of folks here on the couch. I'm not going to do the math on how many people are here, but we have a lot. So, there are a lot of folks that may want to speak. So just be careful how much time you spend on one particular thought or idea. And also we've got, a few storylines that we want to talk about, that we want to get through. So that's something that we should keep in mind. Are there any new folks down here? I see Aben down on the bottom and Jothis. Did I pronounce that correct?
Yeah.
Jotis. Does anybody want to talk about what we've seen?
Hi, John. How's you?
Aben, were you watching the Gilmore Girls show with us?
Were you watching the show with us?
Yeah, I'm from India. I'm from India.
Great.
I just watched all the conversations.
We have a few. Any thoughts on the episode?
We'll get back to you in a bit, Aben. We'll get back to you a little later. Does anybody have any thoughts?
I do.
All right, let's hear.
Okay. So we kind of touched on the whole like parallel thing, which kind of leads into the last like major scene in that episode. It like makes me very happy to see a lot of people on his side, and I'm totally on his side, not for the obvious, for once. It's not just because he's Jess.
Wait,
but
okay.
like,
I was going to ask if you're talking about Christopher or Jess. Sorry, I was a little confused.
Oh no, I'm talking about Jess. No, I feel like considering what happened at the end of last season, he has every right to feel what he feels. Like he feels like he just like Rory just kissed him, which I mean that happened, yes. And she just left with no words, nothing. And yes, like in the beginning of the episode yesterday, we saw that Rory was trying to find a way to like write a letter to Jess and trying to figure out what she wanted to say, but then she probably got freaked out or whatever she was thinking and didn't. And so he didn't hear from her all summer. So the way that he felt, I mean, yeah, he was hurt, majorly hurt. But he's also a little like confused. It's like, you kissed me, you tell me not to say anything, and then you go off for the summer and then there's nothing, you don't say nothing to me, and then you get upset when you come back that I'm making out with some girl and it's not you. Like, you have no right to be mad at me. If anybody should be mad, it should be me at you, because you didn't say anything to me all summer. And I feel like Rory kind of didn't really have a leg to stand on, because she came back, she still is with Dean, and she she has no right to be mad in this situation. Yeah, they're both very hurt, and that's very apparent, but if anything, Jess has every leg to stand on in this situation, because he should be more hurt, because he was kissed and then basically ghosted, if you want to put that term.
Kissed and ditched.
Exactly. But and
Ghosted.
so yeah,
Yeah,
Jess has every reason to be hurt.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that.
That's definitely a good word. I think ghosted. The idea that he was ghosted definitely feel like I could definitely feel it. This was the first time for me where I really felt and I almost I kind of wanted I was kind of feeling like, and I guess I need more Jess to really confirm this, but I already feel like there's a different tone to the way that they're writing this character.
He has more substance.
Kind of the way that I felt like, or we all felt like Dean was sort of changing in season 2. I sort of feel that right now for at least in this scene, it felt like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's hard not to be on Jess's side in this scene. Rory really comes across as very entitled, and I mean, everything said makes sense. Why he would feel sort of hurt, and why she really doesn't have the right to be upset with him in that moment.
She's very jealous, but she still won't admit why or do anything about it.
And she has no reason to be jealous because she left Jess.
Yeah, she can have him. That's the weird thing about it. It's like, what, why jealous? I mean, he wants to be with you. Like you could have written him a letter. You could have tried to do that. The only reason why you didn't is because you cannot make up your mind here.
And she doesn't want to lose someone that she's had for 2 years.
She wants her cake.
Yep.
She likes the stability. I mean, she lived her life without stability, and Dean is like somewhat stable when he's not yelling at her.
Yeah, he's the constant presence.
Yeah, I would say he was stable.
And her mom doesn't like Jess. I think that plays into it too, because she knows, even though Lorelai says, if you want to be with Jess, that's okay, but we'll get you vaccinated. It's little comments like that, and I think she's not ready to kind of do something her mom may not approve of. And I do think he's getting written differently too, because he is being open and with his feelings here a little bit more than like season 2. Jess probably wouldn't have even thought he noticed or cared that she didn't contact him, whereas he's definitely opening up to her tonight.
We really would have cared if we talked about it.
Jess in season 2 felt a little bit much like
criminal.
Like an archetype. he felt more like an archetype, just like, the bad boy rebel, and this scene really, like, the way he talks to her, like, it just feels a little bit more layered. It feels a little more real to me. Yeah, that's a good point though about Rachel, about Rory, and why she may be having a hard time. Also consider the fact that she is, that she's still probably feeling absolutely horrible about the graduation and missing that and going to New York and doing that. So that might also play a bit into it. Although, man, she kissed him, she jumped on him major at that wedding. So the idea that she couldn't have at least called him or sent him a letter or something while she was away from her mom.
He kissed her back. It wasn't just her kissing him. He kissed her back.
But she jumped on him.
And
I mean,
she
didn't just go, oh, well.
I just
hey,
want to point out both Diana and Chris have both been flashing.
Never called him once.
Diana, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, she kissed him, but she's also like she doesn't want to admit it, and she doesn't want, like, she's been writing that letter all summer to him. She doesn't want to admit it, and I think all teenage girls do this at one point or another, or teenagers in general do this at one point or another. Like, you feel like you've had the conversation with the person in your head, and so you get worked up about it, and you get mad at the other person, and it's funny, you just kind of, you come out with it, and you're mad at that person, and you're confronted then by the other person saying, you have no right to be mad at me, like, this is what happened, and you're kind of all in your head about it. And that's kind of always what I see from Rory on this one, is that, yeah, she's totally at fault, she doesn't want to admit it, she made a mistake, she's wrestling with all of her feelings, she's mad at her dad, like, she's got all these things going on, but she had this fight with Jess in her head. So like it's not real. You know what I mean?
Totally. That's great. I love that. I mean, yes. I mean that happens on both sides. You know, you're talking about just like high schoolers in general, because I can say
100%.
I can say from experience, like I did the same thing, work myself up into thinking things that were just like, you know, then when confronted with reality, realized like I just completely made all of that stuff up through all of the conversations that I'd been having by myself with my thought of the person, right? So that's exactly what's happening here with Rory. She's had all these conversations in her head, and now she's being faced with like the reality of what it actually felt like from his perspective.
Yeah, and she gets to be mad at Jeff all over again because he pointed it out, and now she's like, oh man, like I was even wrong about it. So now she gets to be mad again.
Yeah, totally.
So I was just going to say, this is Chris, for those of you who not sure where I am on the board, but I was just going to say to something that Rachel said made me kind of think about. She doesn't want to upset her mom, because you know how we talked about in the past how she's kind of a pleaser and wants to make everybody happy? And maybe choosing Jess would make a lot of people unhappy, so that's why she's so afraid to do it. And so she just stays with the one everybody likes.
Right,
I
yeah.
don't know.
One thing I will say though, because you know, usually I don't really watch season 1 and most of season 2 when I rewatch, just because I like more of the further stuff better. But having watched season 1, season 2, and now going into season 3, I'm like seeing Rory like grow up and become more like being able to like defend herself and like speak her mind, and just like the way she stood up to her dad like gives me hope that like she couldn't talk to Jess in the store, but like gives me hope that she's sort of coming into a person that's like gonna be able to, you know, be like, yeah, this is how I feel, and I need to like say it. Like I can't remember the word. Yeah, basically I need to take responsibility for how I feel, essentially.
Yeah, expressing herself.
Yeah, like season 1, Rory would have just been like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna smile and walk away and not, I'm gonna be uncomfortable whether I'm like what anyone thinks. And then now she's like, well, Dad, actually, stop. So I'm having hope for Rory. She's becoming more of like her own person. So.
Hey, by the way, folks, really quickly, just to let folks know who are requesting to come up on stage, because we're having other folks that are asking to come up on stage. We are right now in a post-show discussion after having watched as a group, having watched a television show that we're actually watching the whole series for. So if you are not actually interested in joining that conversation, being a part of that conversation, then I ask that you please not come up onto the stage. And for all of us who are up on stage, just be careful. Let's you know, just in order to preserve our community, let's just keep keep cautious of those who come up onto the stage, because Clubhouse, you know, has lots and lots of personalities. There is at least on my end as a moderator, I can see there is an option to press if somebody disturbs the stage. I bring this up because the other night we were doing an event and somebody jumped into the room who was clearly not there for our conversation and did disrupt the stage. I don't remember seeing it, but now there is a report this person for disrupting the stage. I don't know if any of you can see it, who aren't.
Yes, we can see that too,
moderators.
but only
Okay,
if
great.
they're up on the couch.
Okay, great. So
But I have been checking that out because
Okay, great.
I've almost pulled the
I've
trigger.
never seen that.
okay,
But I
great.
was
So let's just let's consider that, I guess, right? The other night, Diana and myself and Regina were in a room, and there was a disruption that happened really quickly. I actually moved the person to the audience really quickly, but you know, we know when it happens. We'll know when it happens. It will be very obvious to everyone, and I'm just asking you to be ready to pull the trigger.
Yes, watching Gilmore Girls does not mean we are watching girls for dating. Just saying.
Oh,
Absolutely, I did not.
what?
Yeah, I did
I
not.
had not thought of that connection, but you are probably right.
That is
That's
almost definitely
what is
what's going on.
somewhat stimulating it. Yes.
That is almost definitely what's going on. There is that. Now the club, currently the Remarcus Club, is not restricted to only members of the club. And also that link that I have on the Remarcus app could potentially be used by people who just want to get into Clubhouse. So there is some of that. It's gonna happen. It's it's just one of the growing pains of a young community. I don't want to limit the club at this point to just members, because there are folks who are non-members who are finding this, that are interested in it and whatnot. But I just ask that here at the beginning that we just protect what we have and watch out for that.
And kick all the disruptor to the audience.
Sherry, you've been flashing for quite a while.
Yeah, well, I wanted to say, not only did Rory stand up with, to her father, but she also stood up to the pups. She stood up to Franny and did what she could to help Paris. This episode, she had 3 major disagreements going on, and she was only wrong really with the one, which was definitely wrong with Jess.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, speaking of the past, I think John actually said something about it. It's kind of weird to see in this episode how Paris is so aggressive with Franny, when we've seen before when she was this timid little, oh gosh, oh, they don't want to talk to me, and so it's kind of this weird flip, but we don't really see anything that happens before that to see this huge flip.
I mean, she hung around Rory enough. I mean, Rory stood up about the whole pups things in front of her, and I think being around Rory sort of influenced her to be more just because you're in this secret society doesn't mean that I'm gonna bow to you because I think what you're saying is dumb. So, I'm not gonna bother with you.
But Paris also, her entire family had been puffs, and she had been trying to get into them for the longest time, and it was Rory who kind of helped her to come close to that. I don't know why none of the other girls decided to be puffed after Rory is the one who said that she just sat down.
Can I throw something in here too? Because I hear John wanting to talk about it. And you mentioned it during the live session too, right?
Yeah.
We were watching the way that Rory spoke to her father. I just wanted to open a little opportunity here. John, you're a new father. I feel like as someone in the room, there's a extra weight or responsibility that I personally am not familiar with. Is that why you feel not to psychoanalyze you in any way, but you have a different perspective than we do? So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I see all of the mistakes that Christopher made there. But and this is sort of a theme that you've probably noticed from me. Although I use it a lot. I use this a lot when I talk about Emily. I use this a lot when I talk about Christopher. Emily does not get that pass from me on this episode, though. But I think that a lot of those mistakes come from just mistakes of love. He is freaking out. I've said the same thing with Dean. All of the problems that he brought to the relationship with Rory. So I can't imagine that. I can't see that as trash, because I have to imagine what it would be like if my daughter was saying that she doesn't want me in her life anymore. That's just the thought of it is just sends chills up my spine. So I think that's just Lorelai was absolutely in the right. Emily was fantastic at the end of that scene. I wasn't crazy about how Rory responded to her father in that. I mean, it was a lot of emotion, and in the same way, I can only I can only fault what the faults that I see in that, and I see them as faults. Not maybe others don't, but the faults that I see in that, I can attribute those to faults of emotion and faults of love and all of that. But I can't see that guy as trash. I just can't, you know, because I know how much he loves her.
Yeah, but it
He
seems
was a
like
little trashy in the moment, though.
No, I don't see him as trashy. Why can't they sit down and
Why trash in the moment? Just because he's wearing
No.
I mean,
what
he
I
showed
mean
up
by
in
that
that
is he's trying to he wants to talk to Lorelai, and he doesn't like the situation he has himself in, and he tells her that he's still going to marry Sherry, but he still wants Lorelai, and he's sitting there and he's just like not understanding why she doesn't want to talk to him.
I know, but I don't think he's saying I want Lorelai. Like he's not saying I want to marry you. I want to be with you. He's saying he wants a relationship. He's saying he wants a relationship.
He uses Rory to get to Lorelai, and so when like this is like when we call back to the Christopher Returns episode, and he proposes, and Lorelai says no, he like jumps ship and bails. So like it's.
But he's been trying to call them for months. He's been they got. This whole thing happened at the wedding, at Suki's wedding, back when school ended, right? So that's May, June. Now she's starting school. It's been a whole summer. He's been trying to talk to them, and they keep freezing him out. And so I get why you think he's trash for the whole Sherry thing and the relationship. But why can't they all sit down and have a conversation and be like, hey, that's not going to happen. But how do we
exactly?
Why can't we co-parent or go forward from this? How do we get there? They're just like, no, we're not talking to you.
Yeah,
exactly.
I just meant in the moment he was being kind of like a piece of trash in the moment.
Yeah,
but it's crashed dinner to do it.
Know, but he's upset. But he's just. I mean, I get it. That was totally inappropriate, and it was a major mistake on his part. But that mistake came from a guy who's probably been like slamming his head in the wall, so upset that he can't get through to that part of his life. It's still a part of his life, and this idea of co-parenting, I think that's all he wants. That's really just all he wants. Like, yes, at one point he wanted to be with Lorelai, and he may still have feelings for Lorelai. I don't know how that's going to continue to play out, you know. But as of right now, I see a guy who's like really conflicted, because he wants to be a father to his new child. He wants to do the right thing. He's somebody who feels like the right thing is to marry the person who is the father or is the mother of his child. That's how he felt about about wanting to marry Lorelai back in the day. And yet he does still definitely loves Rory, and I think still loves Lorelai, but at the very least wants to have some relationship to her. She's the mother of his child. So, definitely inappropriate, but I mean, the guy is like falling apart.
Yeah, I just think he just needed to give her the space, and maybe it's just because he comes in there and he's just like, he wants something from her, but he can't tell her what it is. And then when she asks him about all that other stuff, and she's just saying she can't talk to him right now, he just kept pushing. And that's what I didn't like about it. It's just that whole, it's kind of the same thing she does to other people sometimes, just pushes until they talk to her, and then it just happened to her. It's just one of those things I just didn't particularly love about his character.
Real quick, onto his daughter, like
and Diana and Tasha have been flashing. Yeah.
Diana, Tasha, and Lily are all flashing.
Tiffany.
Oh, okay.
Mine's really quick. I just wanted to say something to John that, I think as far as like the way that Rory reacted to her dad, I think we need to remember that like she's a teenager, and I wonder how much of that was also like a little bit of jealousy. Like she was always the only child, even with her mother and her father. She has to fight for his attention anyway. Now, and now here's another child that's going to be coming, and I'm wondering if maybe she might be coming from that perspective as well, like her anger towards him.
I agree. I don't fault Rory, by the way. Like I don't fault her for that. I just don't want to be like, yeah, Rory, you tell him. Like I don't feel that about that at all. But I also understand where it's coming from. She's yeah, exactly what you said. Perhaps jealous, certainly hurt, all those things, and that makes people do things like that.
Right. She said to Chris, go be a father to somebody else.
Oh, yeah, that's really hard that was hard to hear. I have to be honest. That was really hard to hear.
Punch in the gut.
Hey, Tasha, go. Thank you. Okay. So this is why I hate losing my train of thought. Anyway.
Diana was flashing too, so maybe she can go while you gather your thought.
I didn't say I did lose my train of thought. Oh yeah. So I think like starting with the whole Rory thing and her outburst, I don't necessarily, it could be jealous. I could be wrong. Like I'm not Rory. Like I'm not Amy Sherman Palladino. I don't know what the inner workings of her brain are, but it could be jealousy. But at the same time, he did promise her at the end of season 2 that this was going to work and that he was going to be there for her. So like the way that Rory expressed herself, she has every right to do that because her father once again made some sort of a promise to her, and then he just said, peace, I'm going to go, without really a good explanation, and an explanation coming from Chris. And I understand where Chris is coming from in this situation because all he wants is a relationship with Lorelai in any way and a relationship with his daughter, and he's getting none of that right now. So I understand why he's kind of going cuckoo banana and kind of all over the place, because wherever, like he said, wherever he's been in his relationship with Lorelai, he's always had Rory, but now he's kind of effed both of those up. So he's like, well, now what do I do? Now I'm going to try any way possible, regardless of how that may affect anybody else, and try to get a relationship back. He went about it a completely wrong way. And I understand why Lorelai and Rory shut him out all summer. And sometimes like you kind of need that. Like you kind of can't just continually let someone who keeps bailing on you come back, because that's like manipulation and having someone walk all over you. And Rory and Lorelai are not those types of people that will just let someone just walk all over them or come or be like that, regardless of who it is. And I feel like I understand Lorelai and Rory's point of view. I understand Chris's point of view, which is so not like me, and things like that. So it's just like, it's so hard because co-parenting, not that I know, is hard for a lot of people. And in this situation with Lorelai, Chris, and Rory, it's even harder because now there's a new person in the mix, Sherry, and then the new baby. So it's very hard to like pinpoint who's right and who's wrong. But
Diana, I just wanted to point out that when Chris leaves the house, he gets on a motorcycle, and the motorcycle was very much a very first, Chris thing. It sort of represented that he was really immature, that he didn't have anything together, that he was trying, but he wasn't really there yet. And then he upgraded to a car when he was getting his life together. And I think it's really important that the motorcycle is back, because these three characters, Rory, Chris, and Lorelai, are back to square one. They are like, they're all right and they're all wrong. Like, that's actually my personal opinion, is that I can see every argument. I can see everything from everybody's perspective. But I really think it's interesting that Chris is always trying to do the right thing. He's still a little boy or teenage boy who's trying to do the right thing. And he's just trying so hard. He does not know he doesn't understand why it's not working out. He doesn't understand why it's not the right thing. He's on the motorcycle still. He just doesn't get it. And, Rory is consistently disappointed, and so there she is again, disappointed again. Lorelai is kind of like, you still can't get this together. You want it all. You want all the things, but like this is reality, and you're not seeming to get that we're a real family with a real life, and you can't just have everything you want just because. So I just really liked that detail, because I think it just shows that all three characters are sort of back in this place, but they had gotten, they made some progress, and now they're sort of back to square one.
Yeah, honestly, I saw the motorcycle and I didn't even compute, oh, is Christopher back on a motorcycle? Like, is Christopher back to being Christopher? but I was like, you know, thinking or talking about like Christopher's like immature and all this, and it's like for like this, like I think it was last season when Sherry came and Lorelai was like, well, Christopher, you know, I'm actually really glad because now I realized that I was hung up on you forever that that's why I could never have a good relationship. Essentially, he gets pissed at her, leaves with Sherry, comes back. My relationship isn't doing good. Let's hook up at your hotel before your friend's wedding. Okay, woohoo. And then next day goes to the wedding. Everyone's so excited. Then he gets she's pregnant. And I'm not even going to tell my daughter or myself, you're going to do it because I'm a coward, essentially. And now he's coming screaming back and like wondering why his kid doesn't want to talk to him and why his whatever she is, Lorelai doesn't want to talk to him. Like he can't understand the fact that
There's a reason.
promised them a life. He promised them a life essentially, took it away, not even because it was necessarily his fault that it happened, that it went away, but didn't even bother to like tell his daughter himself or, you know, I mean, he was just so mature and then coming around on his motorcycle at her mother's house. And he knows what that means for him to come barging in and like ambush her at her mother's house and like have an argument in front of her mother because he's feeling, oh, I'm left out now. But Christopher, do you not remember that for like the first like how many years of your kid's life you were acting the same exact way and now you're hurt? You did the same thing. Like, can you put on your big boy pants and realize that you have a lot of responsibility now? Like, come on.
I have a question.
About this man.
I have a question for the group. It's a little thought experiment, but I'm curious to hear.
Oh boy.
All right.
Let's rewind back to the wedding. He gets that call. What's the best way for him to deal with that going forward? I'm just curious what folks think, how they think he should have responded to that, how he should deal with that. Does he stay with Sherry? Does he stay with Lorelai? That's sort of the main one that I want to kind of get a sense for. And then obviously there's small nuances like, you know, like does he leave the wedding under different circumstances? Does he try and wrap things up a little bit more? I'm really curious to know what most folks here think should have happened, because I hear that the wedding as sort of the main reason why everyone is so upset with him about what he did. I see it as like an asteroid came down and hit him. You know, that's the way I see it. I do recognize that there were some really bad ways that he handled like the leaving of the wedding, but you know, in general, that was like a massive blow that he did not see coming.
So, John, you got a lot of people flashing. Krista down at the bottom's flashing. Shauna, then Kathy Ann, Lily, Rachel, and Sherry. So you got.
Well, can you moderate that? I don't know who was flashing.
Sure.
I don't know who was flashing.
So
first,
why don't we start with Krista? Why don't we start with Krista, because I saw her down there below flashing.
Okay. My thing, actually, I don't really fault him for his choice with going, you know, back to Sherry, but I think my problem with the whole thing is just actually the way he expected Lorelai and Rory to just kind of like forgive that and forget it, because he started something and then he didn't talk to Rory herself when he had to leave. And then my problem is actually the way he confronted them at dinner. And I always had a problem trying to figure out what his point was. Like, why did he go there? What was his point in that whole, you know, he's like, I don't like how things are, but you know, it's like, okay, so what do you want them to be? Like, I never had the thought before. I guess some people now are kind of like, it makes more sense. Maybe he's just upset because they're freezing him out and he doesn't think they should be. But I always had the sense that he was like wanting a relationship with Lorelai, like romantically, but at the same time wanting to be, you know, with Sherry and raise their kid. So it's like, why are you yelling at Lorelai? Like, you know, I didn't see the point of that whole argument, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I see that. But I'm really mostly just curious, and I'm actually going to have to jump off soon, so I want to make sure that I can hear whoever really has, you know, specific thoughts on that decision right there. Like what could he have done different? Aside from the fact that he didn't tell Rory, that he asked Lorelai to tell her for him. I get that. Like, I saw that. I don't need to, like, I completely agree with anybody who thinks that he should have done that better. I want to know more about Sherry or Lorelai.
I think.
I was gonna say, somebody go ahead. There's a lot flashing at once.
Sorry. Okay, so like at the wedding scene, when he gets the phone call and he's just like, oh crap, you know, and you know, just like Lorelai needs to let it sink in, Chris needed to let it sink in as well, you know, and I mean, yeah, we all say we want him to be with Lorelai, but we also want Lorelai to be with Luke. You know, but at the same time, you know, I mean, they have this kid together. They have a history. I would, you know, if I was Lorelai, I would probably be the same way. Just go. You know, and he was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place and saying, you know, what do I do? And that's my thought on it.
Yeah, I think his choice was correct. I think he made the right choice.
Going into the wedding, he was already not wanting to be with Sherry, and so I don't think because you're going to have a child with somebody means you should be with them. I think at that point that relationship is doomed because he already decided he might move out. You know, they're on a break, or maybe they're not. And so I think when he gets that call, you know, he goes back to, okay, well, you know, I want to do things right, and I think he should have just. He should not be with somebody just because they're having his baby. And I don't know. I just think that ideally, what I would expect is that he figure out how to be a dad to the child, how to co-parent with Sherry, and stay with Lorelai if that's where his heart is. I feel like he should have followed his heart, but he could still be a dad to a new baby.
Yes,
I think he should have stayed at the wedding.
He really needed to figure it out, and I think he should have discussed it with Lorelai after the ceremony, and then you know, had the conversation and then left. But I'm with Rachel. If you're in love with somebody and you're already deciding that this is the person you want to be with, he could have co-parented. Him and Lorelai help raise the baby with you know, splitting time, and he should have been with the woman he actually wanted to be with. I was Team Chris until this happened, and I just can't see them together. It just doesn't feel right.
Carol.
Thank you. I think that if Chris had decided to break it off with Sherry at that moment, not get back with her, and then decided to try to continue things with Lorelai, I think that Lorelai would have lost respect for him in that. I think that she would have been feeling like he's just taken the easy way out of that situation. Whereas, you know, it's quite possible that the reason that he and Sherry weren't getting along at that time that made them take that break was, you know, the hormones and the stuff she was going through, being pregnant and not understanding it. And I think that he would end up alone, that he would be not able to go back to Sherry after breaking it off to be with Lorelai, and then he would be rejected by Lorelai. That's what I think would have happened in that situation.
Kathy Ann?
I think that when he got the phone call, it would have been okay for him to walk away, process it for a couple minutes, continue through the wedding, after the wedding, sit down and talk with Lorelai. His heart was clearly not in it to go back to Sherry. It's clearly still not in it to be with Sherry. And his heart has always been with Lorelai. And he could have found a way to co-parent with Sherry for the new baby and worked it out with Lorelai at the same time.
Precisely.
Lily?
Yeah, I totally I think you should stay at the wedding. I mean, I think he should have been like, "Hey, I just got this call, but after the wedding, we should have a talk about this. Talk about it. Tell Sherry I'll be home tomorrow. I mean, and then figure out, well, do I want to be with you or do I want to be with Sherry?" He didn't want to be with Sherry, but I'm not totally mad about that pairing for the reasons. But I mean, he should have just stayed there, talked with her, figured out a plan instead of just going, "I'm gonna run and I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna run it and take care of this." He doesn't know what he's doing, but I mean, he obviously he knows that he wants to be there for this kid. He knows that Lorelai would want him to be there for this kid. So it just would have been better if he would have stayed and talked with her, and then obviously talked with Rory. But we already talked about that. And then I think he should have went back to Sherry because of the whole baby and everything. And obviously that's the kind of life he wants. But I think him going back to Sherry wouldn't have been as big of a hit if there would have been an actual plan instead of just hey, bye. I made a commitment to be here with you guys, but nah, goodbye.
Tiffany, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just really quick. I think, I agree with everyone saying that, he should have stayed at the wedding. And I think it was really selfish of him to say it he couldn't sit with it for a few minutes and just let Lorelai get through this. And then, they could talk at home. And I think he had that just a fight or flight response where he was just oh my God, and just freaked out, and I kind of think in a way that they should have talked to him after that, because, I think at such a big moment that it's so jarring to him that he just kind of had that initial reaction, which Lorelai has too, is just to run and to not even think things through right at that moment. And so I think that's what he should have done. I think he should have stayed and then had a conversation with her and then try to figure it out instead of just being okay, well, that's it, bye.
Hannah, and then T, and then I want to say something in response to it, and then I actually have to jump off.
I have a question of, if he did tell Sherry that he didn't want to be with her but wanted to be around with the baby, since we all know Sherry seems a little uptight.
Oh my God, you're about to just basically say what I was going to say at the very end, but go.
Because he may want to co-parent all he wants if he ended up staying with Lorelai, but would Sherry would have allowed it?
Boom. That's exactly what I wanted to say. That's exactly what I wanted to say.
That's why we have a court system. And I think people know that he doesn't want to lose that opportunity to see the baby grow and be there for the birth. And he wants first with this one that he wasn't able to get with Rory. And yes, I agree he should have stayed with Lorelai. At the same time, I don't think Sherry would have liked it and was I'll do it on my own,
No, judging by the first episode we see her in and how she was kind of, I don't know, I don't like that episode too much, which is why I don't watch it very often. But the times that I have watched it, it seems like Sherry's very cold, even though she wants to get to know the both of them. But she's very, very, very warm to Rory, but very cold and icy to Lorelai for God knows what reason. But yeah, Sherry would not have let him have both. She would have definitely made him choose. And she would have tried everything in her power to persuade him to choose her.
And I get, Rachel, we have a court system, but there are a lot of ways that Sherry could make it very hard for him to have a strong relationship. Look at how hard it is for him right now between Lorelai and Rory, and then Lorelai is, considerably more awesome than Sherry is. I think that we all could probably agree that Sherry would probably be pretty difficult to deal with if he was I'm leaving you. I don't know. That's the impression I get. T, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, one of the first instances that we met with Sherry when she was having the conversation with Lorelai was like, hey, by no means do I need to have a relationship with you. That already tells you kind of right there in a sense that Sherry would be awful in a co-parenting situation, where it would be segregated in that way.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but she said that she worked, she worked and now she wants the family and the marriage and all that. So she seems pretty selfish. Sorry, Jake, keep going.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I don't mind. And yeah, I totally agree that I think that he probably doesn't want to miss out on all of the little moments because, some of us being parents here, I'm sure that you guys could experience, like, even just between, being full-time parents, with the children, like sometimes there's a difference between what you get to experience when you have to go back to work, versus being with the children, there's already a little separation there, a little bit of like what you get to experience in the first and explorations and everything like that. So I'm sure that Christopher is probably saying like, well, it's not about me choosing women at this point. It's more of like me choosing to be a dad and committed and, fully in it. But I think that he kind of in his gut, he probably knows that Sherry's going to be awful.
Yeah, my main thing is that I just think this guy is a very tragic figure. That he, definitely it resonates with me, this idea that as awful as that was, that he left the wedding the way that he did, that was total fight or flight, that guy was freaked out. He was like completely thrown off of his whole, he went from like totally grounded, feeling good, making promises, to suddenly like he'd been shot in the face. And I just think that, all of that behavior came from just, somebody, like a chicken with their head cut off, and it's hard for me to hate on that. And while I totally agree with you 100%, Rachel, he should be with the person that he loves. I also understand that he may be legitimately scared that he is going to lose that child, not maybe lose rights to see the child, but lose the spirit of that child to a wife that is going to be horrible about about seeing him and just making his life difficult. And given how much I've seen so far, that seems to suggest that he is a guy who really, really, really wants to be a dad. Even though I know everyone is like, yeah, but if you want to be a dad, you should have, I know that. That to me is all because he is a child, because he is immature, but just knowing how important that is to him and how important Rory is to him, I get why he would be totally scared about losing that, the chance to be a dad from the get-go. That's just sort of how I feel about it. This episode was, is this a fan favorite, this episode?
No,
I sort of felt like people were like, oh, I kind of remember what was going on here. I thought this episode was just
it's one of my favorites.
I thought it was just absolutely awesome. Like, there was just amazing scenes, such great acting, such great dialogue, and
a lot of Lorelai we didn't even touch on.
Oh my gosh, we didn't touch on that. We didn't touch on the whole Emily thing, like what she did there in Luke at Luke's, which was like, what's up?
Maybe you can touch on it a little bit in some of the pre-shows during the week.
Yeah, that scene was just really intense. Yeah. That was the first time I think that I was like, okay, I may have to leave Team Emily.
And it's her.
Oh yeah, and there's all the Kirk stuff too. We didn't get a chance to talk about. So
all the
he
Kirk
was fantastic
stuff
in this episode.
Yeah. Well, I just think that it's, there's just so much going on, and the show is clearly getting better and better, and there's just more to talk about. and just really awesome stuff that everyone has to offer at these post shows. So again, I thank everybody for coming, watching with me, and being a part of these. I'm going to be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. We are going into episode 3. That is one episode before
your introduction.
Your big debut.
A new set of characters coming into the show.
It's gonna be so weird to like be like talking to you here, and then I'll see you on screen. It's gonna be like.
You
Hi.
think that's weird? It's gonna be weird for
ready,
me
John?
sitting here. It's gonna be weird. It's
Yeah.
gonna be weird for me sitting here watching myself on screen.
We're
20
gonna hear
years
like commentary
younger.
like, oh,
20 years younger.
But isn't it great that your daughter at when she's older, she's gonna get to see you, young you.
Oh God. That just made me cringe. Just the thought of that just made me
immortalized in
He
all
never
the
thought of it.
candy.
He never
Oh
thought
God. Oh God.
Sorry,
that day is
Diana,
gonna be that day, by the way, is going to be a blast. We're all bringing in our wink winkers. And
Yeah, Thursday,
we're
right?
gonna be posting
Yep.
photos on Twitter and Facebook, the Bag Boys Facebook group, of our amazing spreads of wink winkers. And I'm going to be releasing a new feature in the app, Mementos, which is going to be a part 1 to a larger mechanic that I hope is going to be a lot of fun.
Another reason to love June 3rd.
June
Yes.
3rd. Love
You
it.
will find out.
Um,
You'll find out why. Spoilers. Wow.
All right, everyone. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you again.
Thanks, John.
And I
Thank
think
you,
everybody is a moderator here. Yeah. Okay. And
Thanks,
stick around.
John.
Keep chatting.